What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we have an absolutely hilarious story. The hits just keep coming for Tesla. Now, Monday I did a video talking about how Hertz is going to be selling off a lot of their Teslas and replacing them with gas-powered vehicles because people didn't really want the electric vehicles and they had a lot of complaints with charging them. And unfortunately, that is the topic of the story today. And I'm sure you guys have seen it on the mainstream news. I'm shocked it actually took this long. If you go to any automotive forum, you can see that people are always complaining about charging their vehicles in the cold, also in the heat. But I'll get in the heat part later. So I wanted to grab my laptop. I wanted to read you guys one of the stories that I found. Now, I think the best one is probably the one from Fox Business. It had the most hilarious headline. Chicago area Tesla charging stations lined with dead cars in the freezing cold. Quote unquote, we got a bunch of dead robots out here, which I thought was hilarious. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit of the story and talk about some of the issues that people are having right now. Desperate Tesla owners in and around Chicago were seen trying to charge their vehicles with no luck among the frigid temperatures that have gripped the Midwest. Now, there is a lot of stories out there. They're just picking on this one in Chicago because they had looked like about 100 cars just sitting there and another 100 cars in another lot. But I know this is a big issue all across the United States. Charging stations have essentially turned into car graveyards in recent days as temperatures have dropped to negative double digits in the Chicago area, which is insane. And remember, it gets that cold in a lot of places in the United States. Now, they went on to interview quite a few people, and the stories are pretty hilarious. The first gentleman says there's nothing, no juice, still 0%. He was charging his car there since Sunday afternoon, told the news outlet, and it was 3 hours then, and he did another 3 hours the following day, and his car would still not accept a charge. And there's a lot of funny pictures. I'll leave a link in the description below so you guys can follow along. They're literally pushing these cars all around the lot. Now, people were trying to get their cars into charging and kept towing them when they wouldn't start in different places to these charging stations, but cars were left here plugged in for sometimes hours, if not days on end. And so this is where the problems start to pile up. Now, this Tesla owner voiced her frustration, saying that this is crazy, it's a disaster, seriously. She had to abandon her car and get a ride from her friend because the car would not charge. And then it goes on to saying that we got a bunch of dead robots out here, one man said. Another gentleman came home and landed in Chicago airport Sunday night, went to turn on his Tesla, and the car would not start. So he had to flatbed it to the charging station where all the other dead Teslas were at, and they filmed him basically coming into the actual charging station. You can see it in the video in the link here. Another guy said that this is simply unacceptable. Basically, a lot of people complaining. Now, they had an expert chime in saying that, oh, all you have to do is precondition your battery. Now, that's a great idea when you have, one, enough juice in your battery, two, if your car will actually start and function, which a lot of these people are having issues, and three, on top of that, a lot of people tend to leave their cars in their garage, when they're at home, and then when they go to work, that's not an issue. But the big thing I want people to realize is what happens when you go to the grocery store for 4 or 5 hours to grab some groceries? Is your car not going to start? If you go to work, like I said, you leave from your warm garage, you go to work for 8 hours, you come back, you try to get in your car, it doesn't start. These are some of the things that affect electric vehicles every single day that people don't really talk about. Now, a lot of this EV kind of bad mouthing has been pushed away because, people are so hyped on Tesla and a lot of the other EVs. And don't get me wrong, I know pretty soon we're all going to be driving EVs, but we need to make fun of this stuff so people notice. Now, a lot of the Tesla fanboys don't admit it. They're always like, oh, Tesla's the best car. I've never had this problem happen. But now you've seen a massive group of people in one area with basically hundreds of dead Teslas all over the place, and even more scattered all across the Midwest, of people complaining about them not charging. And don't get me wrong, it's not only Teslas, it's other EVs. Ford Lightnings, there's tons of videos out there of people bashing them because they don't work in cold weather, or their batteries, they can charge them at 100%, and as soon as they drive away, they're down to 30%. So these are some of the things that EV manufacturers need to know about to get better. Now, like I said before, gas vehicles have been around for 100 years. So they've had 100 years to perfect technology. EVs were only about 10 years in. I know there were some EVs back in the 70s, but I don't even count those. Those are like car batteries with electric motors for washing machines. But these are real cars designed for use of a real battery driving every single day. So we're only 10 years behind this curve. So we still got a long way to go when it comes to technology, which, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the learning curve, but stories like this need to happen so they can figure it out. Also, I believe that if you own an electric car, you should always own a gas-powered vehicle as a backup. I don't care if it's a $2,000 junk piece of crap. This is the reason why. Now, I'm sure as the months go on and we go deeper into winter, you're gonna get a lot more reports of EVs having more and more issues when it comes to either charging or battery life when it comes to cold conditions. I've talked about this quite a bit on my channel here in Las Vegas. It is very hot. I've seen charging stations actually shut down. I've seen EVs actually shut off. Tesla screens actually turn off because it was too much heat. They had this glass going all the way up past your head and the sun was just beaming through it, basically cooking the screen. So these are some of the issues that you have with extreme conditions. Now, do gas vehicles have the same issues when it comes to cold and warm temperatures? They do. They do have issues starting sometimes when it's too cold and also when it's too hot. But the failure range is much, much smaller compared to an EV. And so I think now that we are getting more of this data and there's more EVs out on the road, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 years, they'll have plenty of ideas for that. Because right now they're talking about, oh, well, we're going to make a self-regulating battery. Well, that's great, but if you have maybe 10% on your battery and you park it and you're hoping that's just enough juice to get you home, and then your car turns itself on trying to keep your battery warm, and then when you get in the car you got 1% because it's been heating itself up for the last 8 hours, what are you going to do then? Now you can't even make it to a charging station. Now I want to see what happens when there's more EVs on the road, because remember, EVs only make up 1% of all the cars on the road. So I think once we pass 20%, you're going to see this problem magnified much, much more. And especially with the charging stations. Can you imagine if 20% of Americans owned EVs? There wouldn't be hundreds of cars in these Tesla charging stations. There would be thousands of people stranded all over the place. So anytime we had a cold spell or a heat wave, we would run the risk of not being able to get to work, not being able to do the things we need to do. Now, I try not to make too much fun of Tesla, but these are some of the things that they need to figure out as they move forward. Hopefully they take this as a learning experience. Now, the number one thing that I saw that made me laugh was a lot of these people kept saying they tried to call Tesla and nobody would answer because Tesla doesn't have a phone number. They couldn't get a hold of anybody. Everything is through your stupid app. I've been saying it for years, and I pray to God that Elon is watching this video. You need to have people answer the damn phone when they need help with their cars, whether they're buying parts, whether they're having a question. I don't care if you're buying a Ford or a freaking Rolls Royce. You get on the phone, you call any of those manufacturers, they will pick it up. What's your problem? Do you need parts? Do you need service? How can I help you? Tesla is the only one where they'll pick up the phone if you want to buy a damn car. But if you need service, help, or anything else, use your app. Or use the screen in your car. But if these people are sitting on the side of the road turning into popsicles and their cars won't start and you refuse to take a call, what are they supposed to do? And this is another reason why, I can't remember if it was Kelly Blue Book or if it was Auto News, saying that 1 out of every 3 EVs were traded back in because people are going to a gas car instead of an EV. But anyways, I would love to know your opinion of what you think of this current situation that's going on in the Midwest with EVs. Do you have an EV in the Midwest? Are you having any issues? Is your car fine as long as you leave it in the garage? Do you have any tips or tricks that you recommend for everybody else in your area? Also, do you have some sort of preconditioning battery routine? Do you do this maybe once a week, once a month? Do you do it right before you charge? How long? Because I think a lot of people out there bought these cars and don't even really know how to use them. And believe it or not, when you buy these things, you pay 60, 70 grand. They don't really show you a whole lot when you're in the showroom unless you sit there and want to talk to them and they're not busy. So please share with the other people down there just to help out. It means a lot. Also, if you learned anything or just enjoyed the actual hilariousness of this, please like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you guys next time.